Well, good morning, everybody. Scott Fisher with Senior Resource Connectors here with you today. And this is a special day for me. I get a chance to speak to a clinician like myself loves people and passionate about her work. And Nichole Boren is with me. Hey, Nichole, how you doing?
I am wonderful. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
You guys, we thank you. We have done this now for the last couple of years, and we bring you the talented, dedicated members of our coalition. And just to remind our audience, Connectors was put together, man, back in 2021. I think it's 4 years now. And what we were intending to do was to create a voice to speak to families, particularly those adult children who might find themselves feeling the pain of an aging loved one. Often it's our parents, could be your grandparents, aunts and uncles, but and could absolutely can be a spouse. But we're here to bring resources and education and content to speak to you if you are in that journey. And so Nichole and Faith Hospice have been part of our group for quite some time now. Nichole is the director of counseling support services and serves as a patient navigator for Faith Hospice, and they're just one of the premier hospice providers in the Valley, and that's why they're at the table with us. So, anyways, welcome again. Tell us a little bit about what you do and what it means to be a patient navigator. I guess let's start there.
All right. So it's hard to put in a nutshell what I do. Um, I For the counseling support services side, I oversee our entire social work department, our spiritual care counselors, and then also our bereavement program. So help make sure that that has oversight and provide guidance and training where needed. On the other side with patient navigator, I go out to various facilities, hospitals, communities, anywhere that it may be looking for some resources. And I honestly go in as a medical social worker. My background is social work as well, and so I go in as a medical social worker, provide resources and education on what is out there and what options there are. And then obviously at times that is also with hospice, so I can talk with families about hospice, and if they're interested, help get them signed on.
When you say the word hospice, you know what I'm going to ask you. What
Yes.
is the typical reaction? And I imagine that there has now been a lot of people that tried to explain it, and then there's good information, bad, there's myths. You want to take
Yes.
that on a little bit and tell me about how people react and then how you untangle that for people.
Absolutely. I am always very careful on throwing the H word out and saying hospice. You would think it's a curse word at times. It's a very scary word, and I think it's just the lack of understanding of what it is. It's also come a long way as well. So what it used to be, 20, 30 years ago is definitely different than what it is now. But hospice is a medical benefit that we have. And with that medical benefit, you get, nursing care and social work and spiritual care, medical supplies and medical equipment and all of that. And it really is for somebody who has no other options or is choosing to not partake in those further options. They are no longer wanting to seek aggressive treatment, and or they're told that there is nothing else, that we can do. Hospice is about quality of life and not quantity of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Now, a big piece of it is that people think the hospice is a place that you go, and
Right.
hospice is not a place that you go. We provide hospice services wherever the person is residing in. And even if somebody does not have a home, we are still able to provide hospice services to you. So it's a medical benefit that comes to you. It's not a place that you go.
And when you say medical benefit, that means it's part of your typically the Medicare health plan that seniors over the age of 65, or if you have traditional commercial insurance. And unfortunately, people,
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's heartbreaking, but you see younger people, not just the aging population. Sure, I bet, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, it is. It is a medical benefit you can get through your insurance, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, or any of the, commercial, private insurance as well. And honestly, we are also able to provide hospice service to somebody who does not have insurance at all. That is something we're able to help with.
I have untangled that for people. You said it really, really well there. But when you said it's not a place, often people come at it and their paradigm is it's when mom gets to this point, she'll go to hospice, and they'll say that
Right.
to me. I'm on the placement side, so I help people find their long-term care solution. But I often tell them, no, that's when we get to invite our buddies in from a hospice company and provide that end of life support, adding on resources and services that the assisted living offers some of that, but certainly not all the rich benefits that come with the hospice experience for families. Um,
Exactly.
how many times do people come back to you and the family has gone through the process, they've lost their loved one? How many times do you hear back from families? Oh, thank you, God, for being there for us.
We get quite a large number of people that will either write letters to us or send us reviews or personally call us. I mean, really, we've built relationships with these families, so I get numerous phone calls from families after the fact, just thanking us for being there for them and what we were able to provide for their loved one. um, Being the social worker and on the counseling support services side, we actually tend to deal more with the families than we do with the patients. So I'm able to kind of build that relationship with the family, and it makes a huge difference having somebody else walk alongside you on that journey.
It people have said to me for years when I was still practicing my clinical nursing, I worked in all areas, psychiatric hospitals and mental health. And most nurses go, "No way." And I couldn't take wound care and
Right,
post-operative all oh man. And I walked happily into the psych hospital every day with my keys and I went to work. Not everybody's wired to work in the hospice environment
right.
and for end of life. Talk to me about quality and character of your staff and your clinicians that work for you and the heart they bring to the table every day. That's important for families to understand who's going to be their navigator or who's going to be looking out
Yeah,
for them in the process.
absolutely. Hospice nurses and hospice clinicians are are really the angels walking on the earth. I mean, it really takes a special heart, and I just absolutely adore all of our nurses and our clinicians. You're right. End of life care is not for everybody, and um, speaking from social work side, that's one of the things I love about social work is that it's such a broad range of options. So you can kind of pick your area. I had no idea that I would be comfortable working with death and dying. I had no idea. I had very little experience with death and dying when I first started with hospice, and it was actually working at the fire department that made me
Mm.
realize that I was good with death and dying, which again I would have never known. I didn't grow up thinking I'm going to be a hospice social worker when I grew up. That wasn't. I didn't even know that was an option.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yes, for whatever reason, I'm very comfortable with death and dying. That topic doesn't scare me. Being around somebody who is in the dying process and on their end of life journey, does not scare me, does not bother me. But we are there with our families, and we are able to be compassionate and feel their pain of losing the loved one, but still be able to walk alongside and guide them. Our counseling support team, helps with a lot of family dynamics, families who are, you know, in disagreement on what direction to go, and families who are in disagreement of, honestly, the dying process in itself. And so we're able to walk alongside families and help with some mediation and help with some conflict resolution. And um, I think I think one of the most genuine moving parts that I have ever been a part of is when our spiritual care counselor can come in and help resolve a family feud that has gone on for years, like a
Okay.
You have dad who is literally, actively dying, and, son who has come in and hasn't seen dad for 30 years and they haven't talked for 30 years. Our spiritual care kind of getting choked up a little bit, even thinking about it. Spiritual care counselor is right there, helps kind of mediate that conversation. Son embraces a huge hug, and it's just amazing the family bonding that happens, before that person passes. And I mean, there's just no way to put into words being a part of something like that. And it's those moments that just keep me going and is incredible to be a part of.
I can imagine. I've been part of families that were in conflict where maybe there's been some disruption in the relationship for years. Dad was an alcoholic, dad was abusive, dad divorced mom years ago. I mean, there's all
Mhm.
kinds of family stories. And kids are estranged or at a distance, and then all of a sudden now they're forced to step in and make decisions for or um, help dad, and their relationship's not repaired yet. There's no healing, and now I would make decisions, and so to have an impact with a family and bring some healing at the very last moment, my gosh, Nichole, um, that's got to be breathtaking, to know the impact, for those families, that they don't have to live with that bitterness, resentment, right? All that stuff that goes into this.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Hospice is really just about the entire family. It's not just about the patient. We
yeah,
are involving the whole family.
yeah. But when I had your colleague Cameron, Svensson on, and we did a whole conversation, and I've got it right here. I've got his book here, Finally Fearless. Here's another plug for the book. Um, Takes on in his chapters multiple things that people are afraid of. And I guess, it's pretty, I guess like the question I wanted to ask you was, um, people are just dreadfully afraid. If someone does not have a foundation in some sort of spiritual worldview,
Hmm.
this, in their perspective, may be it. And so, of course, you're freaked out, and maybe at the end of your life, and nobody knows the beyond, right? Other people of faith and various faiths might have a construction of a worldview that includes some sort of afterlife or whatever. How do you encounter that, and how do you help them navigate that fear of the unknown that is keeping them from making good decisions at that point in time where they feel stuck?
That is really a piece I am just extremely passionate about because I see it so much. You know, Obviously mortality is 100% right now, right?
Mhm.
Everybody is going to die. We don't know
Yep.
when, we don't know how, but we are all going to. So it is something we have to face at some point. And so, a lot of times I see it's more the families that are terrified of the patient going on hospice than it is the hospice patient themselves. They're ready. They're ready. They're talking about it. It is the families that are terrified of the thoughts of it. And so, you have, 92, 93-year-old, mom or grandma or wife, and, they're wanting them to go through all of these treatments and push them to do all, get poked and prodded and all of these things that can't, they've been told there's nothing more they can do, that, the patient themselves are just tired. They're just tired and they just want to have quality of life of what is left. So trying to navigate with the families of where is that fear, because the fear is coming from you, it's not coming from them. I get these ones with don't tell them they're on hospice. I promise you they know. You can say all you want, don't tell them, they know. And when you go in and talk with the hospice patient, they are talking to me about death and dying. They are scared to talk about it in front of their families because they know that their families are scared of it. And I have to navigate and bring everybody together and say, okay, let's all talk. You guys have pulled me aside and said this. you, our patient, have pulled me aside and said this. It is time to bring it together because you guys are all talking the same,
Mm.
just in different rooms, and trying to navigate that and really helping the children, the spouses come to terms with, let's just be there and provide quality of life and allow them to walk on this journey, and quit, trying to stop or detain the inevitable, because it's just going to make the journey worse.
Harder.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it, just helping the families walk through that. It is really hard. It is very, very hard. There's a lot of denial, and just a lot of pain that
Yeah.
is, brought from it. And I get it. I mean, nobody wants to watch mom die. I mean, nobody wants to, for that to believe that's going to happen.
Yeah, I lost my dad literally a month before the pandemic. And, as an adult kiddo and now mom's in assisted living, um, all we've known as as children, and now as an adult child, is like I've known a life with mom always there. I knew
Hmm.
life, dad always there. And then one day you get a phone call and say, Dad's not here, you know. Um, no time to say goodbye. He, would we all like to just go to sleep and not wake up? And dad was that guy. He thankfully didn't have a long decline or an illness or just life running out of air and running to the finish line at 90. He died and
Yeah,
died suddenly. Mom's journey is different. And so what I keep reminded of is I watched my friends lose their parents in various ways because we're all kind of in that place, was that we don't have forever. We've got to make relationships our priority. We've got to heal things where there's conflict and wounding, and it's just human nature. We hurt each other. And
yeah,
I just, what a awesome thing you get to do every day. Not easy, but get to do every day, that you get to step
yeah.
into them sacred spaces and help families like mine and others get to the finish line of life for this season if you have a afterlife perspective. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And walk alongside everybody. Yeah.
and I've seen a greater incidence of dementia, which is fatal to people in their 50s and early 60s. And that's got to be, I mean, we kind of expect it in our folks that are 80, like something's going to take its natural course. But when people die prematurely, even
Yeah.
kids, man, that's another ball game that's got a whole nother set of emotions
Yeah.
tied to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the piece of what's labeled as anticipatory grief, and that's a big part of what our my department especially works on, is anticipatory grief, because you are grieving the loss of somebody before physically they're still there, but cognitively they're gone. I mean, it gets to the point where they don't even know their name, they don't
Yeah.
know, their daughter walks in and they have no idea where their daughter is. Spouse walks in of, 60 years, and they don't recognize, that person either. And so we work with people on anticipatory grief, because that's really when the grieving starts. And then obviously we have an amazing bereavement program. So that's, after the passing, we're able to walk alongside those families for 13 months, so that when they do get that call that, mom's here, now mom's not here, what am I supposed to do?
Hmm.
Um, we can walk alongside them, for that next 13 months to provide that support.
That's awesome. You go that far out after.
Hmm.
Wow.
Oh, pop quiz. Do you know why 13 months?
I don't know.
Okay. 13 months because we always want to get past the 1 year anniversary of the death.
Makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. Hey, what do you wish that families would better understand about the hospice benefit and the resources that are available to them at that part
I,
of their journey? Yeah.
yeah, I think that's twofold. Number one, a lot of my educations out in the community is about why hospice is so beneficial to get on as early as possible, that moment when you've decided, it's time, either I can't do, I can't, there's no more treatment options, or I'm just tired and I don't want to do treatment anymore. Either of those paths, you know, being able to be on hospice, you get all of the support of the nursing and the counseling support and the equipment and the, medical supplies, all of that that you get to help with your quality of life. And honestly, we actually see that hospice prolongs people's lives, which is really like nobody would believe that, but it actually is true, because if you're going through a life limiting illness, terminal illness, without that medical support in the home, it's more difficult for you to take care of yourself, right? But then you've got that medical support in the home. It helps your body be able to kind of relax a little bit and get that care, and it actually prolongs your life a little bit. So I wish people would come on a lot sooner. You don't have to be actively dying.
Yeah.
You as long as you know that you have that terminal illness, you have a diagnosis that qualifies, you can get on. We have people on that are sometimes on for a year and a half. It doesn't mean that, you're signing on to hospice and tomorrow, you're gone. So I wish people would consider it a lot sooner. And then number two, it's not a decision that is set in stone. You can sign on right now because there's no other options and we can provide that support for you. If in 6 months there's a, experimental treatment, or in 6 months there's a cure for, whatever,
Mhm.
and, they decide that you might be a candidate for it, you're able to come off and go get that second opinion or go get that treatment if you feel like it's worth it. But don't prolong it because you feel like I sign on to hospice and now I have no choice and I've just signed my death sentence. That is
Yeah.
not the case either. So
Yeah.
I wish people would come on earlier, and I wish people would understand that, you can still have choices even though
You
you've
still have
signed on.
control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's perfect. Hey, before we get out of here, and I feel like, and I'd love to have you back again. I would love to just talk, 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 and you just take on some topics and go, because I think that the what I really want to emphasize is this is really brings up some of the most raw, tender spots in people.
Absolutely.
To do it alone and to do it and gut it out. And especially men, if you're hearing me, don't leave this up to your sister to deal with. I mean, we need the support. And so maybe just before we get out of here, share one more thought with us and then promise me you'll come back so we can talk more.
Listen, everybody is going to die at some point.
Yeah.
So please allow people to come in and walk alongside you, so you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone with your family member. Allow us to at least come in and share with you what we can do to help. Um, and yeah, I'm super excited to come back. This is a topic I'm obviously passionate about, so it's very easy for me to, be able to discuss this and share my experiences.
Well, I'd love to dig into some more things with you on the next time around. So,
Thank you.
Nichole, thanks for joining us today. Our audience, I know, will be touched by your heart and the love for the work that you do and the people you get to touch. And so, guys, there'll be Nichole's contact information, and Faith Hospice will be here. They are just one of the premier providers of hospice. There are lots of choices in town. We choose to partner with Faith, and we are grateful for their presence at the Connectors table. So until next time, Scott Fisher here with Senior Resource Connectors. Find us on the web, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you again. Take care.
Bye.